Hello and welcome to Clari-T Media. I'm Alicia Mayo. A woman was shot dead today after illegally entering the U.S. state capitol with other angry protesters, attempting to disrupt the traditional Electoral College vote certification process. The unnamed victim was a part of a group egged on by President Trump's allegations of a stolen election by Democrats. Lawmakers gathered on the Hill today to certify the election of Democratic President-elect Joe Biden as the incumbent Donald Trump and his attorneys have run out of angles to appeal the presidential election results. Meanwhile, a violent mob loyal to President Donald Trump stormed the United States Capitol, forcing lawmakers into hiding in what the AP describes as an attempted coup to overturn the democratic process. They were following directives made during an early morning rally by President Trump, where he urged protesters to march to the Capitol. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says lawmakers will resume the counting of electoral votes after the Capitol was cleared of all of the pro-Trump occupiers. Washington's mayor issued an evening curfew attempting to contain the violence. So joining me tonight, everybody, is Professor of Politics James Taylor from the University of San Francisco. He's an author and political correspondent. Thank you so much for joining me, James Taylor. Also joining me is Laurel Morrison, Clari-T Media political correspondent and Atlanta-based reporter who has taken part in several protests in Atlanta. She was part of the Rodney King protest, and most recently was part of the Jacob Blake protest that occurred after the shooting of Jacob Blake in Atlanta, where she was tear gassed. So thank you both for joining me. I got stumbled there as my son was trying to call me. I'm so sorry. Usually I, as a mom, I jumped right to those phone calls, but as of he's 15 now. I think he can wait. He can take care of himself. So, Professor Taylor, let me start by sharing some video footage from the events that happened earlier today. And I want you and Laurel, as well as the audience out there, thank you all for joining me out there. I want you guys to check out what happened during the electoral certification process on Capitol Hill today as those protesters showed up. And we're going to watch the videotape together. And then I want to get your comments and feedback, Professor and Laurel. Thank you again for joining me, everyone. So as you can see, the violence erupted here.
We'll pause. Thank you.
There wasn't anything to say.
We were just told that there has been tear gas in the rotunda, and we're being instructed to each of us get gas masks that are under our seats.
Okay, all right, you guys. So, as you can see there, it was a lot going on today at Capitol Hill. I mean, again, those lawmakers were on the Hill doing what they traditionally do in counting those electoral votes before the inauguration, after the quote unquote legal election of the new Democratic president-elect Joe Biden. So let me start with you, Professor. Tell me what you think of what occurred today, just your general opinions, and I'll get to you, Laurel.
Yeah, thank you. And it's great to be on with Laurel and to meet you electronically. I have a lot of thoughts, and they're not nice in terms of how I understand what's going on now. In other words, I'm not being mean, but I just think the nature of the analysis is not flattering. I think white people in America, not all, obviously, but I don't feel like just making that distinction because that's just more of the oppression and games they play with our heads is to make sure we say not all white people are evil or racist, and yet we've had 400 years of racism from white people, independent of the good ones. So it doesn't matter that they're not racist white people. It doesn't matter that they're good white people in the world as long as racism prevails. As long as racism is the norm and Martin Luther King or Reconstruction or Jack Johnson or, someone like Jackie Robinson or Barack Obama or Martin Luther King breaks through, the norm in America is racism. Every once in a while, Martin Luther King or Obama or Kamala Harris will break out, but the norm in America is racism. And that's the reality. And too many Americans have been tricked and brainwashed into thinking that somehow America is not racist first. America is not even a country. America is a racism. And that's what I tell my students, that America is a racism. And when you keep trying to understand it as a country, you'll be confused. These people have shown us they are willing to bring this whole thing down because they don't see us as a unity. They see it as a them versus a us. So the Black community and the Black population, from the beginning, we were free for centuries here in the Americas before the Europeans showed up. And then all of a sudden, we become these objects of their desires to build wealth. So they built 500 years of wealth. And now that the American government is no longer able to buttress the white population up with this false sense of racial superiority, where we all have technology, we all have intelligence, we all have resources, we all have the ability to learn and develop ourselves now, they're still living in some sort of prehistoric obsession with being white. And that's what Ta-Nehisi Coates tried to convey in his book, Me Against the World, is he kept saying the people who identified themselves as white. What we're seeing is not about America. It's not about all of us. It's about white people and a narrow segment among them at that, who are obsessed with the idea that our advance or liberation is somehow at their expense. That's the problem. There's white people who have seen us engage in democracy through the 1619 Project, through democracy, through voting in the midterm, in the primaries, voting in the general election, voting in the elections last night. Black America is responsible, listen carefully, for 18 million votes since Donald Trump won in 2016. Since 2016, including last night, November 3rd, 7 million votes. We had beat him by 2 million on the night he lost, and we beat him by 8 million in the midterm in 2018. So about 18 million, mostly Black people, have been the only opposition. We've been the main opposition to Donald Trump. And if it wasn't for Black folk, one, Obama would have lost both times. So there wasn't no white breakthrough and moment of white post-raciality that we reached with Obama. No, white voters rejected Obama twice. And if it were not for non-white voters, Obama would have lost both times. And so we're really still in the norm. Trump is the yin-yang to Obama. If Obama's the yin, then Trump is the yang, and they both reflect white racism. Trump immersed himself in it, headlong, and still doing it proud and loud. And hey, he told these racists tonight, I love you, right? And Obama, on the other hand, ran away from racism. So when I say yin-yang, Obama and Trump both understood racism similarly. Obama avoided it for 8 years, and Trump has swam in it for 8 years. And now we're seeing the culmination of it, where they want us to turn it off. They want these white folk to turn it off, but you can't turn this off now. You opened up this floodgate. You opened up the gates of hell as it relates to racism, and now you got to deal with it.
And so people are in the streets on both ends of the spectrum. We got the Trump protesters, we got the Black Lives Matter protesters, and we have the average citizen protesters like Miss Laurel Morrison, who has been protesting in the streets as a mother who just got fed up. Laurel, talk to me about what you saw in that video and give us a little bit of your background on when you started protesting in the streets yourself.
Well, the video, thank you for having me. The video today was just upsetting because one, it was incited by the president. You know, not a movement that of voters or groups, or you think about how we come together and organize, and you know what I mean, and it was public
With purpose. Yeah.
we're underground, like media doesn't even get to know what we're planning, like to the best of our ability. This was public. Trump said it. Trump held a press conference and then said, I'm going to march with you and walk with you to the Capitol, and let's take it over. He incited this. So when I think about how that started, and then how, when we march and we are fighting against something, my first protest was at the age of 17 in Oakland, California, in the 90s, when Rodney King, that was our first time seeing something like that, even though we knew in our community it was happening, but that it made national news finally. And that was enough for my generation then to come out and do only what we've heard about, what maybe, we've been told about, because at that time, that 30 years ago, 40 years ago, we still had relatives alive that were in the civil rights movement, or knew someone who knew someone, and even if it wasn't in the history book. So we really made a statement. But what moved me again to march in Atlanta, fast forward to being a mother now, and Black Lives Matter, was Rashard Brooks. And
Rashard, yeah. So you were out there, and I have a picture of you when you were out there. So let me just share this picture with folks here. Let's see if
that was after being pepper spray. And that's what really pissed me off today, that they were called protesters, that even though it was planned, there wasn't, the amount of force and coverage and military and police that there was for us, even though it was planned. And then when they got there, it was still nothing happening.
So you were actually tear gassed. There's Laurel.
Yeah.
Were you crying, or was that the tear gas on your face?
That was, when you get tear gas, you have no ability to control breathing out of your nose, your mouth, coughing. It's like someone throwing pepper in your throat, you inhaling it in your nose, and it being thrown in your eyes at the same time. So all these, you're trying to see, you're trying to run, you're trying to breathe, you're trying to escape, all at the same time.
Mm-hmm. And that had never happened to you before. You didn't expect it. I also saw the video that you took where the police were literally like driving through the protesters in the car, where they almost hit a couple of people. Or did they actually hit a couple of people during that protest with you?
I believe they did.
And put it in reverse, backed up and went back through the protest.
Yeah, it was very intentional. And they were the officers that were in front of the fire trucks that came the second time. They came the first time and decided to let the fire burn. When they could have extinguished it and the building could have been saved. This was when they came the second time.
I mean, the fact that we're having this conversation in 2021 after a Black president, right? All day I've been doing media all day, and I've been trying to keep control of my emotions, but I honestly can't find any other intellectual or understanding of right now except white racism. And that they're sick, that they are sick, that they need help, that they need spirituality, that they need God, that they need something more than what they got, because what they got, all they got is racism now. And that ain't enough, because for 500 years, the American government and the Western countries of the Western world lied to white people and told them they were racially superior. It artificially elevated them. I've said this on your show before, and they overwhelmingly kept Black people down. So it wasn't like they just allowed white people to just develop. They allowed whites to fully develop with full resourcing and funding from the American state. And then they also kept us down as any competition for centuries. Now, when we talk about reparations, we are just saying, hey, fix us, we're broken, right? White people wake up every day, and reparations is the whole system. Reparations is a system where white people don't have to worry about being shot jogging down the street in Atlanta. White people don't have to worry about going to a hotel and coming down in the lobby, and a woman that lost her phone there 2 weeks later comes and attacks your son because she thought he had it 2 weeks later. And she's from California. White people need Jesus. And I mean that in the most, I don't even mean that religiously. I mean it as a metaphor that they have a sickness. And I'm a professor, and I'm saying it publicly, and I am not afraid to say it. Because what else explains what we're seeing? We ain't the ones out there doing this. When we protest, it's because some cops shot us in the neck or stabbed us or shot us in the back. Like the brother yesterday in Kenosha let the cops get off for shooting his brother 7 times in the back. We will rise up for that. They're rising up because we voted. So that's a sickness. They're rioting and burning down their capital because black folks saved democracy in Atlanta, Georgia. That's what this is. This ain't got nothing to do with conservatism.
And this was before it was announced that we were totally blue.
So talk about that, Laurel. Okay, so Professor James Taylor, she is in Georgia.
And showed up.
Say that again, Laurel?
Yes.
Say it again. I didn't hear you.
I said we came out early and we showed up in Georgia.
Yeah, and they couldn't take it because they thought the racism was going to win. Mm-hmm. And then when they saw, really since Biden with Clyburn in South Carolina, I've been telling people who will listen to me, black people in America are the most sophisticated voters on the planet, more sophisticated than white people in America. Because even whites, they don't have a sense of mission or a sense of we-ness except with regard to non-whites who they don't see themselves as connected to. But for decades and decades and decades in social movement history, in other words, I think we are the one group well adjusted to right now, which is why in Atlanta, in Savannah, in Augusta, black folk are feeling good about. They know they honored C.T. Vivian. They know they honored John Lewis. They know they honored Ella Baker. They know they honored Martin Luther King and the very pulpit that he preached from with this brother being elevated.
That's one of the best things about living here. And there's so many people not from here that don't have a sense of history like you do when you get here. Because you learn it. If you didn't know it before you came, you learn it when you're here. Wow. And that's one of the great things about Atlanta.
And the powerful thing about that is that black people were on a mission to save democracy, to stop this racism, push back on it. And the tragedy of what we're seeing is there's no alternative explanation for what we're seeing in Washington, D.C. and around the country, mainly amongst them. Right now, black folk are feeling good about themselves. We are happy that we have killed the wicked witch through elections, not through violence. And instead of white people watching us and learning and saying, well, damn, black people are really committed to democracy. The 1619 Project that said black people are the real keepers of democracy in America was true. Instead of them joining us, I'm not talking about the young who got up with us. I don't want to forget what we saw in the spring when young people from every background rose up. I'm acknowledging that. Please hear me. But I want us to understand this is still a racial reaction. This is not a citizen dissent reaction. This is racism only in America, in the city. So these people are racist. They are not neutral. And I don't think that anybody who's in leadership, if the mayor of Atlanta, DC, or San Francisco, or any other black leader should be counseling black people to reconcile and make peace with these people. These people are at war with us, and it is insane. It is insane if anybody tells us to forgive them.
But before you get to the war, it's that they fear us. That they fear us.
No, I would agree.
So Laurel, now let me, I'm going to pause the video there that's running. Let me ask you now, because you're in Atlanta and you talk about being there on the soil and getting a real sense of what it means to be there. You told me earlier that the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, held a press conference today, and he talked about calling out the National Guard. And tell me what else you heard in his coverage as I look for that video.
He did. And this was while CNN was still obviously covering what was happening at the Capitol. And right before he had his press conference, they had just announced that we did turn blue and Ossoff won. So I thought he was coming on to talk about that. But he actually first mentioned how reprehensible it was, all the activities and the violence and everything going on at the Capitol. He acknowledged that he was against it. So that, that was good. And then he talked about employing the National Guard, and I'm trying to understand why. If he thought the Republicans here would maybe go to the state capitol and protest, right? Because we turned blue, or he didn't really say why. So he mentioned that. He never mentioned, the state turning blue, him stepping down, saying goodbye. He didn't mention any of that. But one comment he did make that I did not agree with was in talking about and being totally against the protest and riots today, really, that happened at the Capitol. He said that we had peaceful riots in Atlanta. And I disagree with that because I was pepper sprayed. So
Okay, you know
I
that.
don't know how the comparison, there's no comparison. There's no
Let's take a listen.
What's happening there and now. And the reactions from law enforcement, no comparison.
Right. Okay. So let's listen to Governor Kemp as he addresses what's happened today. Let's see here if I can get this going so we can check it out.
As you all know, in Georgia, we had peaceful protests all summer long, allowing people to let their voice be heard on an array of issues that we had going on in our state and in our country at that time. But we certainly did not allow anarchy, and we will not allow that now here in the state of Georgia. It is unimaginable that we have people in our state, in our country, that have been threatening police officers, breaking into government buildings. This is not the Georgia way, and it is not the way of our country. An individual being shot during the middle of these activities, that I don't even know the details on that, while they were there, is unimaginable. And for those of you that have been calling on a special session, you can now see what that would have looked like. Rudy Giuliani saying, quote, trial by combat, end quotes, is simply outrageous, and there's no place for that in our nation. I want to let my fellow Georgians know that today I will be extending the previous executive order that has activated the Georgia National Guard. That will continue to be in place this coming Monday, and they will be called up as needed. I feel confident that they will not. We have to come together in this state and in this country as we move forward. Now I'll turn it over to Lieutenant Governor Duncan.
Okay, so
what reason will we need the National Guard here? They only post up at the state capitol, which you can't even park. It's very hard to get to. It doesn't even collect a volume of protesters because it's right in the middle of downtown. And then you have your alternative, the other place where they post up, which is in the Black neighborhoods, especially during the time of Rashard Brooks. They block the interstates, they block the exits, go each ramp exiting and entering on both sides, north and south, of getting anywhere. You can't get anywhere near it. So I don't understand why.
Have you seen any Trump protesters out in force where the National Guard would be needed in Georgia, in your
No.
neighborhoods as
And
far as
I don't think they've been called or threatened to be called before now. That's what makes it interesting.
And is there any activity going on down in the ground that merits what he's talking about? Are people protesting and gathering right now?
Not that I've heard of, but I
Well,
will
me
have to
either.
take a look. Not in my timeline.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything. So I'm like, why is he calling the National Guard? It's DC that's on fire, not Atlanta.
No idea.
right.
This is the sickness. I mean, I think we have to keep in perspective who all these people are. Stacey Abrams was clear to make sure we don't get caught up in defending the Secretary of State, who is on their side. He did everything he could to help Trump. He even purged, according to Tasha Brown, 225 or 250,000 mainly black votes in Georgia. And, you know, Trump still attacked him. In other words, he said, boss, I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to steal this election for you, but I can't do nothing else without going to jail. And Trump said, all of y'all going to hell. You know, he burned the whole state up. And, you know, that I'm the same thing happened to Jeff Sessions. I don't feel sorry for these racists when this sick demon man, this Beelzebub man, turns on them. They all earn it. They all earn it. And again, black people are very Christian in their disposition toward other people. And I don't mean that theologically. I mean that in terms of our character as a race. We as a character, again, I'll sit here and debate anybody on the proposition that Black America has a level of spirituality that no other group in America has. And I'm not talking about religion. I'm not talking about church going. I'm talking about you shoot up a church and they find a way to forgive your evil self, your demonic racist ass.
But it starts at home.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
The only way I know that is because of how I grew up in California and to move here and raise kids. Just today, just this week, in fact, yesterday, my son plays baseball. He's a junior at Westlake. He's a pitcher. Nice. He's been, you know, COVID has been very challenging for, you know, them getting together and things like that. So he's been working out on his own. Our local park is still closed, where he grew up playing Little League ball because of COVID. So he goes to a predominantly white city, 2 towns over. And there was a group of Caucasian baseball players that he's seen there before. And you know, he's seen there, same height, seems like same age, things like that. And they've never said anything to them. And he took the initiative yesterday to ask them, did they want to do, you know, live at bats and some hits, and he would pitch to them. And he couldn't believe that how welcoming. It was just a total, you know what I'm saying? They were fine, but it's the fear and what they see. They don't have black friends, and so if all you see is what's on the media and, you know, what you hear about. And they made some great connections yesterday. Great connections, homeschool kids. You know, one is on the north side in a magnet program as well, just like my son. And you know, they just found out they can get together at this park and congregate, even though they're 2 different races, and with the same goal.
So what that says to me, Laurel and Professor Taylor, is that while America moves on, there are still some people stuck on stupid.
Big time.
Literally stuck. And I really am, as an African American, with that historical, attitude that I was raised with, to unite and to treat others the way I want to be treated. I'm trying to sympathize, and I am considering, like, why they must have stormed the Capitol. What made them scale the wall? Because I sure in the hell wouldn't have done it myself. I would have stayed behind the barricades and yelled as loud as I could. But what gave them that gusto to feel like it was okay to break the rules when we have assimilated and followed the rules and done everything outside of our natural selves to just get along?
I mean, there's 320 million people in this country. It don't take we can find 50,000 people who'll do anything. Yeah. We'll find 50,000 people that'll cut the heads of babies off on TV if we ask them to. So don't be surprised that we have sickness in a sick society. And I want to, sort of be clear that when you think about what's happening tonight, a lot of this behavior has already been demonstrated. We're just seeing more of it. This was Kenosha. This was Kenosha when everybody celebrated that young white man's mother driving him across state lines in Illinois to Wisconsin and killing someone, and then driving them back across state borders. And the next time she's in public, she gets a standing ovation from a room full of people. That doesn't happen to black mothers. A black woman taking her child from Chicago over to Wisconsin to do a drive-by, then go back into Chicago, and America celebrates. That's what happened here. That's what's happening now. In the boy in Kenosha, he's the second most popular white man in America to Trump. So this is the sickness we're dealing with. You have almost two Americas, a black and brown and non-white America that is to me, deeply embedded in its spirituality, its ancestors, its history, its art, its music, its dance, its culture, its rhythm. And it is more powerful than racism. And I don't know if anybody's ever said that to either of you or anybody else before. But I am convinced the more and more I've been thinking about what's going on in our society, and the more I look back at our history, and the more I look at what has survived, I realize our culture is as strong as it was in slavery.
Right.
Our black culture.
And it makes you want to go back to segregation.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Be together.
Right. So, because that was the point where, before integration, there was this sort of cultural genocide that happens. Fortunately, in the South, I think, Laurel, you all do a better job of recovering this in Georgia. I got family in Georgia and in South Carolina, in terms of trying to, like when you go to LA, you go to Atlanta, you'll see 20 black folk together in a group. Out here in Cali, you'll see 20 Mexicans in a group, in family, but not black folk, unless it's some special occasion. And I'm talking about just every day, going to, the local restaurant with the, you'll see, I would see all these black folk. I'm like, wow, black people in the South are very similar to Latinos.
I had a major culture shock when I moved here. I moved here originally in '93 to attend Clark Atlanta University.
Wow.
And it had major culture shock because I'd grown up going to private schools in California and this and that. The reason I chose Clark Atlanta, that was after doing a year at a state school in California that was pretty much looked like how I grew up, with every race. Okay. But I had never had a black teacher except for a substitute in 8th grade. And it was a male. And he had a big influence on my life. And at that point, I said, I'm going to go to a black college because, and I came to Atlanta and it blew my mind. Yeah.
Now, I had been at a conference in Virginia right before Katrina in 2005. And there were about 20 black political scientists all just meeting together in the conference. Out of several hundred, we were just having lunch. So we ended up, men and women, sitting in this hotel lobby for about 12 hours, and hundreds of people joined us. And they were mostly black Southerners. And so I'm being a New Yorker, I'm talking about white people in the North and the South and the differences in the West Coast. And the black folk, to a person, they were all just quiet and cool about it. Like they had this confidence that we know how to deal with white people. Y'all are the ones that are confused out there in the West Coast or up in the Northeast. We understand what we're dealing with, and we negotiate that. And so, to me, there's so much more potential for us as a people going back south. And very few people know this. Since 1970, for 51 years, every major city in America, in 70 on, from Oakland, San Francisco, Richmond, black people from Chicago, Detroit, LA, have all been going back home to the South for 50 years, quietly, one by one.
I'm from Richmond.
You know what I'm saying? Richmond, Cali?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm calling that your town.
Right.
I'm calling that your hometown. Which I think is a very important city historically. Black folk, even out here, don't appreciate the deep history of Black Richmond is just as important as Black San Francisco and Black Oakland.
They
and
don't
in fact,
talk about it. And
they are inseparable.
Talking about the difference between celebrating culture in Atlanta versus other places.
And that's what I'm suggesting is, like, Black people have to take a panoramic view and realize we still here, and we strong. What we've seen last night was Black people showing that they are still alive and they still care and they are still trying to fight for this country. That's what we learned. And this white backlash is typical. Every time they see us advance, or if they think we've advanced, there's a backlash. Martin Luther King, Ronald Reagan comes 12 years later. Jackie Robinson, Jag Johnson, white riots and pogroms and lynchings, right? Barack Obama, Donald Trump, Reconstruction, Jim Crow. So we've been through this. This is the nature of race in America, is this dance. When we move forward, They say, no, y'all get back. But now in the 21st century, it's just impossible for them to continue to maintain a white over non-white system. And we're moving to 75 million people. Black people right now, 45 million. In 30 years, all of our children who are in their teens, when they get in their 40s and 50s, be clear, whites are going to be a minority to them. And so the last 3 generations of Black people have moved back south, baby boomers, Xers, and millennials. And we're growing. So we're going home for 50 years straight, and our numbers are exploding, and nobody else is telling Black America this. And we need to be organizing businesses, politics, community in the South.
So what do you think about?
I'll say about this. The future of Black America is Southern.
So what do you think about Freedom, Georgia, and the movement? They just acquired some more acres. It was at 100 acres. They're at 500 acres now.
See, that's what I'm saying. They need to do that for the rest of us, even if the rest of us never go there, so we can mentally benefit from knowing that Black folk achieved that and that there are alternatives. I think Akon, the singer, is putting together billions of dollars in Africa, trying to do the same thing, trying to say to Black people, there's some place you can be in the world where there's not hate directed at you. So I think Black people need to turn away from the wide with a D and the whiter with a TH society and turn inward toward Black community development. We should be developing our people, developing our community, developing our institutions, developing our resources, developing our self-defense mechanisms as well, because we keep running around like Martin Luther King praying and preaching, thinking all we got to do is appeal to their goodness. Clearly, if you're watching what I'm seeing right here, right now, they aren't trying to hear us praying. They ain't trying to hear us negotiate. They only understand the AK right now. They only understand the Glock right now. And y'all may not appreciate that, but Martin Luther King was successful because Black men had guns. Let me say that again. Martin Luther King's nonviolence was successful because Black men had guns. I was on a TV program last week with a cop who explained to me that when you see Martin Luther King giving the I Have a Dream speech, and all those men around King with the white hats on are all Black police officers loaded with guns, protecting King while he says, I have a dream. Everybody in a white hat is a Black cop. And that cop had a gun saying, go ahead and preach nonviolence, Martin.
Now, I'm going to have to look back at that, because that was a speech that I memorized and performed at a talent show. Of all things, a talent show. I did the whole I Have a Dream speech, I think 5th grade, but I don't recall the pit imagery. So I'm gonna have to
go back and look at that picture. You'll see a bunch of brothers standing around him in white, and a cop, a well-known police officer from NYPD. I was on a show with him last week, and he explained this, and I'm like, wow. He said, yes, all of those officers, and he named them. He said all of those officers surrounding King were armed. And so my point is, there's a book called We Will Shoot Back by Nyake, and I don't know why I cannot say my brother's name. Akinyele Umojo. His book is called We Will Shoot Back. And there's a second book called That Nonviolence Will Get You Killed that document Black Southerners. The Panthers with the Black Panther image, be clear. The gun is a Southern culture thing. The Panthers, when they were rising up in the 60s, they were being more Louisianans and Monroe Louisianans than they were Californians. In other words, the Black Panther Party picking up the gun in Oakland was a Louisiana thing, a Louisiana gun culture thing. And Black folk in the South are as familiar with gun and gun culture historically as white folk, and there ain't nothing white folk know about the South that Black folk don't know better, because they tilled the damn land for 4 centuries. So I'm suggesting that we are in a predicament where the not effing around with me party is necessary right now. The people in Stone Mountain, I don't agree with violence at all. I don't like violence. I don't believe in violence. But I'm not going to encourage it, nonviolence, when they out there burning down the Capitol and we run around here singing, oh, Jesus, come and get us. Oh, Jesus, take care of us. Oh, Jesus, protect us. And they run around believing in the same Jesus with a lynch rope and a flag and shooting. I think we as a people need to let them know we will fight back and you will die, and we will not accept y'all victimizing us just randomly. And I don't like sounding like this, but in reality, this is what is necessary right now.
Professor, let me ask you, when you talk about being willing to die for the cause, Those folks scaled those concrete walls. They seem to be willing to die for the
Yep.
cause. There was a white woman
Yep. Who died?
willing to die for the cause,
Right.
right? We know about how Black women show up in force. What if women are willing, white women, Black women, if we are willing to die for it, what's up?
Where's the Crips?
What?
Where? And I might end up getting hurt behind saying.
Come on now, come on with it.
Where are the Crips? Where are the Bloods?
This
Where
is
are
worth
the
fighting for.
Where are the gangster disciples? Where's all the gangs in Black America that claim that they run the hood? Where the hell are they? You gonna come and kill me? And
while they're praying for Dr. Dre.
They'll come and kill me. They'll kill me for saying what I'm saying. But George Zimmerman will keep walking around America with a middle finger up to them, humiliating them. And meanwhile, they pulling out their nines and shooting up in our community, talking about they gangsters and thugs and killers. The only one that was serious was Micah X in Dallas when they blew up with that robot. Everybody else is just rapping. Stop rapping about revolution if you ain't down with revolution. And what I mean by that is we're at a point where we need our trained soldiers to begin to train Black community around self-defense, the way the Nation of Islam did with their people, to teach us self-defense. I'm in Oakland. A Black girl named Nia Wilson, coming from her boyfriend's funeral, was at the bar minding her business, and this white boy from the Proud Boys, because the Proud Boys had met in Oakland that day, walked up to her and her sister and stabbed them both and killed Nia Wilson.
Right.
So I'm in Oakland. I'm looking at white folk like they're all killers. I'm looking at all of them like he could potentially stab my daughter. I think Black people, we have the habit of being so good toward others that we don't see that others aren't necessarily feeling that benevolent towards us.
So let me play devil's advocate now and be good to white folks. Because, you know, that in fact is my job, to try and be objective and to try and look at the other side. And I was doing that earlier on my earlier broadcast, you know, trying to imagine, okay, so these folks who attempted to take over the process are finally feeling the way we've always felt, okay? Finally feeling disenfranchised, finally feeling like nobody's listening, nobody cares. And as a matter of fact, we are a minority. They are minorities now. They have that label. They don't want that label, but they have it. It is a fact. It's never really been a fact for us because, you know, we don't really know the true numbers and the true statistics. I mean, I just had a new grandbaby. There are 5 brand new babies, Black babies in my family.
Uh-huh.
My 47-year-old cousin had his first child.
Wow. Nice.
Okay. And so we have 5 additional Black baby boys, all baby boys, as my grandfather, 93 years old, passed away 2 years ago. He brought us 5 brand new Black baby boys.
That's amazing.
You know, so I don't necessarily believe that we are minorities, but in fact, white America is a minority. It is a fact, and they are feeling it.
Yeah.
And I have to extend my condolences. I feel like, you know, I am in the process of watching, like I'm taking part in, I'm witnessing a death almost.
Yep.
And I kind of feel my heart goes out to them in a way, because not all white folks are bad folks.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
I mean, I'm Irish, I'm Russian, I got white blood in me. So, and it may not have necessarily, and I'm not trying to romanticize the relationship between white and Black, but, you know, there is some love between us. You know, it has not been all bad. There were white abolitionists who truly believed in abolishing slavery and racism and all that stuff. And so I do kind of feel a sense of sorrow for them, because I know what it feels like I think that's where my empathy comes in, is because of who I am as an African woman mixed with the European. It's just, I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? Do you have any sympathy or empathy at all? And I know you do, but explain what it feels like and how.
I don't. I have no sympathy. I have no empathy or sympathy because what we're going through is not necessary. Other white people in the world ain't acting like this. Some are, and mainly the young men who are upset with being alienated from their societies. But I'm saying, what I've been trying to say this whole show is that Black people have reached a level of being able to relate to other human beings from a standpoint of goodness. That we, generally speaking, when we wake up, I'm not talking about all of us, and we're not all perfect. I'm just saying, generally speaking, when we wake up in the day, it's about the day, it's about other human beings, it's about the good, right? I'm not talking about gangs and criminals. Right. I'm talking about everyday people, right? And yet, in other words, Black people care about white people. Black people care about Asians. Black people care about Palestinians. We champion everybody's cause who's ever had a cause, even when they don't champion our cause. We sitting here right now having sympathy for the white folk that want to put us on trees, and I understand it. But right now I'm looking on TV. Lindsey Graham is on TV doubling down. So we sitting here offering up the olive branch to them, and they are still holding the AK-47 up to us. And I think that's a mistake of our culture. This is not the time for Martin Luther King. This is the time for Huey P. Newton and Elaine Brown and Rosa Parks, who actually, if you read the book Warmth of Other Suns, actually packed the gun. In other words, I don't think this is the time for healing because we're not finished with the bleeding. They are not finished with us yet. And that's what we have to recognize is Donald Trump is in office for 2 more weeks to do this. So for us to talk about reconciliation, the problem I have with that is in the 1876, I'm looking at right now, Lindsey Graham just got up. First thing he said is 1876 election, and I'm friends with Tim Scott. So the election that took away Black power for 90 years with the 1876 election, and he says, I'm friends with Tim Scott. As he stands up, the same senator who called Georgia and tried to get it overturned himself before Trump, and the same senator who told Black folk in South Carolina, you are not allowed in South Carolina unless you conservative, is on TV. So I cannot possibly be prepared to make peace with the people who are doubling down on their racism. I think what we need to do is continue to tap into the depths of our community and our people. I think we need to recognize that our culture is more powerful than racism. And I don't think we appreciate that. That Black American culture, through centuries and centuries of development in so many different fronts, music, art, education, science, math, hidden figures, Henrietta Locke, Black people have so many different successful movements. We had, under Booker Washington, Black Southerners had 60,000 businesses in the 1800s. 60,000 businesses in the 1800s. So what happens is integration comes along in the 60s, and we just sort of abandon the sense of responsibility we have to each other. And I'm suggesting, finally, that in these times where the violence is directed at us, where just yesterday a white jury in a white city took 2 minutes to say, no, the cop shooting this boy in the back is no harm, no foul. Lindsey Graham is trying to send us back to the back of the bus. So I think Black people should not be being coached to forgive and to reconcile yet. The last time we tried to reconcile with white people this way, what happened was Reconstruction. We said, the North and South said, let's all work this out. Let's forget this 400,000 white people that have been killed. Let's forget our Civil War. And they said, okay, we'll make peace. So white North and white South made peace, and Black folk got Jim Crow. And I'm saying we're at that moment right now. And that's why we need Lorel to be active there in Atlanta. I need to be active here in Oakland. You need to be active out there out towards SAC. We need to be, all of us, doing anything we can to help our people at this time.
So let's look at a little more footage of today's events where we will see thousands of people gathered in support of Donald Trump. I mean,
and don't forget the mostly in no mask. That's just a whole nother arrogance.
Yeah.
That we're in a pandemic, and yesterday, I mean, every day is higher death rate. That's the part that really hurts too. It's not a normal time.
Well, I mean, I was thinking, like, are they even concerned about themselves? And like you said,
but if these are his
Professor
followers, they
Taylor,
believe him. They still believe the stuff he said in February and March, that it's a hoax, it's not real.
right?
You got to understand
That's mental illness. That is true. I needed Dr. Jason Outlaw on here tonight with us to describe some of that.
Well, I think, let me say, I want to add to that. I think you're right. That's what I was saying earlier. They're sick. And what I mean by that is, right now, as America is in crisis, because capitalism has come to its point and it's not reducing everything that it used to produce, they don't have a whole lot of cultural resource to tap into. I'm talking about the dominant group don't have a culture to tap into. And you heard me say our culture is more powerful than racism, that our culture has sustained us for 500 years from hip hop and trap all the way back to the Middle Passage. So our culture is so deep. All of the lynchings, all of the whippings, all of the rapes, all of the kidnappings, all of the humiliations, all of the land thefts, all of the property thefts, all of the crisis that they put in our lives for centuries and centuries and centuries and centuries and centuries and centuries has tempered us as a race, as a people. So now that America is in decline, black folk are being devastated by COVID, but yet they still were the resilient element of America yesterday. Black people in America, the only group how do I say this? The only group in America anybody outside of America should be interested in is Black America and what we're doing here, because the whole world has watched for the last 9 months Black America pull out a miracle after miracle. And yet they don't have the same resolve. Listen to what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the reason all those people right there are out there in that crowd is because they ain't got nothing else but racism. We have 500 years defending against it. And defending against the racism, we developed a culture that now survives and sustains us. So what I'm saying is white people are in trouble because the only culture they had was hate. And now that they're in crisis, they ain't got nothing. The flag, superficial patriotism compared to the depths of right now. The three of us have never met in person, all three of us. And right now I can say one thing, sing one song, start one song, and all three of us will connect right now across where we are as Black people. That's deep.
Yeah.
I don't know what Leroy's religion is. I don't know what your religion is, but I bet you I can connect with both of you right now through a simple song. And you came with me through a simple song or reference to Michael Jackson. You get my point?
That human connection. And so I hear a lot today about mindfulness and ethics and sharing and unity, because I think that their return on their investment has not been fulfilled. They have not invested in the human connection. They have not invested in relationships with people. They have not invested in the morality of America. And the culture of America is all about unity and being together, not divided. And so their return on investment and all of their business focus is now yielding the results that they have invested in, unfortunately. Yeah, so let's just, let me just run this video here and let's just take a look. Paula White, speaking to them.
Yeah, and she needs to repent, and every white preacher in America needs to repent. The white church should repent. The white church in America is in sin, and the white church in America is ungodly, and the white church in America should repent to Black people and to God for this racism.
Because it's been institutionalized in the churches.
And she's the number one preacher in Trump, and she preaches to a bunch of Black folk from Tupelo, Mississippi.
So go on other days of the mega church, I guess, huh?
No, those ain't going nowhere. Creflo ain't going nowhere no time soon. They're gonna be here. That pimping ain't going nowhere no time soon. But I have great respect for the church, and I have great respect for pastors, Black pastors like Reverend Warnock. I respect them because I know that the reality is more common amongst them is someone broke, like the brother from the movie the preacher's wife with Corey and Whitney Houston. You know, when they were husband and wife in that movie. That's the reality of a preacher. Broke, always trying to help people, never kept, keeping up, always tired, always coming from always doing something to help other people. And I think Black folk, especially our comedians, are too quick to put down our institutions like our churches and our preachers and things of that sort. I'm at the point in my life where I'm saying, we don't have a whole lot of other institutions left. We better nurture whatever we got. And the Black church is our most important. That's why Kelly Loeffler attacked it and attacked Reverend Warnick.
Not only nurture, but clean it up just a little bit, because we have our own work to do, I think.
Yeah, she made the critical error of condemning a pastor and attacking the pulpit of Martin Luther King's church, and that's why she didn't get elected. And I think we have to appreciate that, like when people talk about Black women, in the way that we hear people talking about Black women, that is important to me, because Black women are sacred to me in that way, that we must nurture. And I don't want to sound patronizing in any way, so I'm trying to avoid that. But I'm saying, just like I value everything in our community, we should value women and everything in our community in terms of keeping our community healthy and making it healthy.
Let's take a look quickly at a previous news package on the Black Lives Matter protesters in Washington, D.C., protesting peacefully and getting different results. Let's just check that out. Let's see here.
Today, ending his decision about a controversial photo op-ed about the location for an upcoming rally next Friday. Our D.C. Bureau Chief Russ Palumbo live now with the details on this one. Russ.
Well, Calvin, protesters in front of the White House gathering once again. Take a look. There are a few dozen right now, and this crowd keeps growing. The president, though, is not inside right now. He's in Bedminster, New Jersey. Earlier today, the president was on Fox News once again defending removing all these protesters using tear gas and force just 12 days ago.
I think it was a beautiful picture.
The president praising his own photo op made possible by gassing and pummeling protesters.
I should not have been there.
And dismissing apologies and criticism from the country's top generals.
Do you think it's significant?
No, I don't think so. No, I mean, if that's the way they feel, I think that's fine.
Trump also revising history after tweeting, "When the looting starts, the shooting starts," a phrase Miami's police chief infamously made, referring to African Americans.
That frightened a lot of people when you tweeted that.
But the president now insisting it has two meanings.
It means two things, very different things. One is, if there's looting, there's probably going to be shooting, and that's not as a threat. That's really just a fact, because that's what happened.
God, I hate this. This man is a racist.
If there's looting, there's going to be shooting.
He's a devil racist.
They're very different meanings.
Also now, after the police killing of George Floyd,
I can breathe.
Trump grappling with banning chokeholds.
I don't like chokeholds. Sometimes if you're alone and you're fighting somebody, it's tough. And you get somebody in a chokehold, and what are you going to do now? Let go and say, oh, let's start all over again. I'm not allowed to have you in a chokehold. It's a tough situation. Now,
Trump also standing by his decision to campaign next week in Tulsa, the scene of one of the worst massacres in African-American history, on the same day the end of U.S. slavery is celebrated.
Is that on purpose?
No, but I know exactly what you're going to say. Think about it as a celebration. My rally's a celebration.
Trump telling Fox he's done more for Black lives than Abraham Lincoln.
And let's take a pass on Abraham Lincoln, because he did good, although it's always questionable. You know, in other words,
I gotta shut it down. I'm sorry. I gotta shut it down.
Because he's a goddamn idiot.
I can't.
Just LBJ alone. LBJ with the War on Poverty, the Great Society programs alone. But he's retarded and he does not know history. So he spouts out this kind of stupid talk about everybody but Abraham Lincoln.
Do you
Obama did more.
Should he finish out his 2 weeks? Because there's talk now.
No, he needs to be dragged out on his ass in front of the country. Otherwise, this country will never be right.
Okay, because they're talking about
go ahead.
invoking, because Pence has the power to invoke the 25th Amendment. And
but he won't.
Never even looked up on it before, because it's never come about in my lifetime.
Gosh.
The 25th Amendment, He could basically, it's a process, but they're not going to do it, so we shouldn't even waste our time on it.
Right.
Right. It's not enough time and everything like that. Okay,
Yeah.
so Laurel, you were talking about his Twitter account being shut down by Twitter.
It was.
What
it
did
was
you?
shut down?
How do you know that? What was your source?
Because I get all kind of alerts. I think that one was. I don't know if that one was CNN or our local channel ABC 46, but yes, I did see that.
So there's a possibility that they have realized like this is out of control, and they are at this point shutting down his Twitter account. That is
the White House has the Congress has plans of inaugurating Joe Biden off-site. This happened to Thomas Jefferson because John Adams didn't want to leave the White House, so they simply had a ceremony at an off-site place, and everybody went and partied there. That's what they are going to do.
There's a precedent.
Well,
oh my gosh!
You can't really congregate anyway because of COVID. Like it would a normal year.
And it's a good thing. It's a good thing in this case.
Fine.
It's a good thing in this case because, in fact, there may be that whole drag. You know, he may get dragged, and we're going to need as much room as possible.
It can't look like this. This is Obama's first inauguration.
Wow.
The year that I went, I was right behind the reflection pool.
Nice.
And this is my first time visiting DC.
Nice.
So, Laurel, you've been active in your own way. It's so nice to see, an average citizen get so involved in so many deep ways that we have no idea just how powerful the ripples from your presence are.
Yeah.
And I think, Black Atlanta has been under a lot of pressure from Kemp. When the police shooting happened at the Wendy's, he flashed on the mayor when they were talking about PPEs and everything with the COVID. He went against her. Right. It was her against him and the state and local mayors against him. Yeah. But I think Black Atlanta accomplished something last night and November 3rd that it had not successfully done in a long time since they rose up with the movement. I think they got, and the music too, of course, the Dirty South music has also gotten the respect. But I want to say, I think politically, what I saw as a student of politics last night, I kept saying out here, when is Black Atlanta going to rise up against Athens and show its power against Athens? Athens keeps trying to punk Black Atlanta. Well, after last night, I don't think Athens will ever try to punk Black Atlanta again because they see the power. They understand the power. And we might end up with a Stacey Abrams as governor of Georgia in the next 4 or 5 years.
Next time. Very possible.
Wow. So look, I just pulled up Reverend Raphael Warnock's response to the win. To the win. And so let me.
What a day. But look, today, what a day.
Amazing day.
That's what I'm saying. Yesterday we were on Cloud 9 celebrating, and today we all talking about,
Right. But see, that was his plan, though.
It was intentional. Exactly.
But see, our culture, here's what I mean. Our culture is so deep. All I got to do is say to y'all, don't let nobody steal our joy. Just like that. That's what I mean. Right there is a demonstration of the three of us know that, and that's our connection across centuries and miles, but we all know what that means.
That's right. Let me fast forward. Okay, so YouTube has a way of sneaking in ads and stuff. Let them get past their ads. So Reverend Raphael Warnock calls projected win reversal of the old Southern strategy on The View today with Whoopi Goldberg leading the conversation.
Let me see, because I don't even watch this anymore. Let me see this.
Do we want to watch this? Okay, here we go. Hold on. I wasn't gonna play the whole thing. I was just gonna play.
I just get whatever makes.
I can't do 11 minutes of it.
She wasn't happy that was back from maternity leave. Meghan McCain. I was like, oh, okay.
And I have to say, I have to tip my dreads to Georgia, because I never thought that we would see this kind of change. And when you look and you realize that there's never been anyone, I'm knocked out that Warnock is the man now. I don't know. I'm knocked out. I have all this stuff I'm supposed to be saying, you know. He's going to make history as the first Black senator elect in Georgia.
Amazing.
It's nice when America gets
look at Meghan McCain's face.
Something amazing.
She blinking like she about to cry. Look at her blinking.
Oh, well, maybe we're surprised, but we won't talk about whether we're surprised or not, because our is going to be on with us in about 14 seconds.
And see, that's the problem. We don't hate them.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Make your comment, and then we'll
go ahead. I'll let him play.
Okay. You're ready? Okay, here we go.
Start with that. We are thrilled to welcome this man to The View right now. Congratulations.
He got a new smile today. He had that smile before.
You to be able to say, thank you for electing me the first Black senator from the state of Georgia. What did that feel like?
Well, thank you so much, Whoopi, and it's wonderful to be here with all of you. It's great to be back on The View. I am delighted and deeply honored that the people of Georgia have chosen me to represent them in the United States Senate. I know that these are some difficult and dark days, but every now and then God sends us a glimpse of hope and light, I think, to encourage us to keep fighting the good fight. And so, you know, I want to say to some kid who's struggling, persons in struggling families across Georgia and across the country, that you are looking at an iteration, an example of the American dream. I grew up in public house, one of 12 children in my family. I'm number 11 and the first college graduate. Through hard work, grit, determination, I was able to go on, earn 4 degrees, including a PhD degree, become the pastor of Ebenezer Church, and now senator-elect from Georgia. I got there through
powerful because how many?
I am the product of Pell Grant, student loans. As a toddler, I was in Head Start. I know the importance of good federal public policy, and then this defining moment in America when there's so much suffering and there's so many people trying to divide us. I hope to go to the U.S. Senate and be a force for good and pulling us all together as we build what Dr. King called the beloved community and respond to the concerns of ordinary people.
How can any American citizen
wow.
not understand that there are more people like him than not like him, no matter what race?
Yes.
Okay? Especially
yes. That's the celebration.
People living in trailers, and let's talk about it. These are the largest apartment complexes I've ever seen, and I'm glad to be a homeowner here because I mean the apartment complexes are huge. I've never seen anything like it in California, and it's not always desirable place to be.
I've heard Trump's son-in-law owns a lot of those apartment complexes too. Trump's son-in-law owns a lot of those apartment complexes as a slumlord.
Right.
But what a beautiful change of events, Professor Taylor.
Well, I was just going to say that's why I think we had 2 previous presidents, Obama and Trump, who both claimed to be city presidents. I'm from Chicago. I'm from New York. And neither of those men had an urban development program. I'm saying that Joe Biden, if he does not come correct with like a massive transformational urban program that recovers Baltimore, recovers Trenton, recovers parts of Philly, and the poverty of Black people everywhere in America that led Trump to calling them shithole countries. If Biden does not eradicate those conditions for us, then we should send him to hell and the Democrats too for the next 20 years. Because at this point, no more y'all got our vote and we don't get no return except smiles. At this point, we as a people in the 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025 years must see newness, new streets, new buildings, new institutions in Black communities, just anywhere. And if we don't, we should damn the Democrats and never support them again and let them die. And because the Trumpers are killing the Republican Party, and Black folk, we could easily kill the Democrats by just withdrawing our love from them, and it's over. So I'm saying we are a very powerful people. We've done some beautiful things for this country, in terms of its democracy. I think tonight people like Laurel can go to bed knowing, as Black folk from Georgia, they can talk to all of the rest of the black folk and just say out to us spiritually, we took care of this, didn't we? And we did, and they know they did it for the rest of us as they did it for themselves and their own children. But I just want Black America to understand what Georgia did is so deep. It's so deep that we got a Black man
hearing about it
who's a senator now. In the same place where the governor likely stole the election from the Black woman 2 years ago. She got her revenge.
Yeah.
She got a preacher from
now you put it in perspective for her.
And how has she survived? I'm just thinking about even how has she, because her focus was such on the movement and she never swayed and did all of this. Did she even get paid for it? Like what was she doing to even sustain during all this time? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She never swayed.
Yeah. And I think she's an example. Mm-hmm. And many people need to replicate what she did across the Black South. And I just think the future is bright for Black people. I do. I know I won't be here, but I'm excited about the future for our people because I see Stacey Abrams. I see Corey, the sister that just got elected recently. Her name is slipping my mind, but Corey, who just got elected recently. And then you had, you have Ayanna Presley. You have a number of people in politics who I think are very, who are trying to do the right things and who are saying the right things. Again, this system is so complicated and intended not to change. So we have to realize we have to stay focused long term. This ain't no 5-year movement. This ain't no 3-year involvement. This ain't no fad where you're into it and then you're out when you get tired. We can't get tired because our ancestors taught us that lesson. You don't have the right to get tired. We got to keep pushing. I'm going to keep pushing until I'm dead. I'm going to keep fighting and calling them out for what I see until I die. I'm not giving up. I'm fighting. I'm going down. I hope y'all are too. I'm going down swinging for my people. To hell with that.
It's Cori Bush.
They want to turn down America to save themselves. We need to be willing to do anything to save ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was Cori Bush, nurse and activist. So she's an essential critical worker and activist who became the first Black woman to represent Missouri in Congress.
Because she saw Black bodies being broken by the police in the Ferguson riots. And when she was in the emergency room, she said, "I can't take this anymore." And she ran for office and won. We need Black folk like that all over America.
Great example. Great example. Laurel.
Let me say this. Her, Stacey Abrams, and I love Tamika Mallory. I think Tamika Mallory, the young sister that called out Daniel Abraham recently when she said, "You ain't Black no more," or "You don't belong to Black people."
Oh, yes. Yeah.
These sisters have original thought and deep. And Stacey Abrams is coming from a place where nobody has been before. King was not where Stacey Abrams is. Stacey Abrams is so unique in her perspective and her focus and her clarity. And if young people around the country aren't inspired to try to turn North Carolina into the next Georgia, that's shame on them.
Yeah, so there's the documentary on Netflix about Stacey Abrams that we should all watch, I think, just to get a start on, getting educated on who she is. So Laurel, any last comments for you, my dear?
No, it's just been a day. I tried to stay up late last night to see, if they were gonna call it, and they didn't. I'm trying to go to sleep, and then you wake up, and I've been following this all day, and I never would have thought, even with Trump in office, I had no expectation of seeing what I saw today, and we're supposed to be celebrating, like you said.
And it's not ironic; it was intentional. It was
But I know Black people, and we're gonna find a way to still party after this. We're gonna celebrate. I'm telling you, when that white woman barbecue Becky called the police on the brothers over here at the a couple of years ago, Black people came for the next week every day with 20,000 people. And they reclaimed it. They danced when she called the police. They danced on it, and I guarantee you, when these fools finish acting up, Black folk gonna find their way to say hallelujah to each other.
Yeah. Right, and remember to wear their masks. Thank God.
More people this year celebrated Juneteenth than they did 4th.
That's right. Oh, it was.
I'll be honest, fireworks and all at my house.
That was, but see, that's what made.
I think, especially with the inauguration probably just mostly being televised, everyone will celebrate in their homes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But Laurel, the thing that really got me with Juneteenth was just like, it was like a spiritual awakening. It was like a spiritual awakening for everybody. And that's what I mean when I talk about the power and depth of our culture. That our culture is the one thing stronger than white racism, because it's the one thing that has kept us all this time.
And it's not to say that we are more than the other. It's just to say that we know how to balance things.
Right. That's right.
But see, that's where I think we get messed up as a people, and I see this in my children, and I'm trying to correct what I can contribute and what I need to remember what they're not getting in school. I'll speak on Juneteenth. That's been ingrained in me. I was in Juneteenth parades in Richmond, California, riding my horse down McDonald Avenue.
Nice.
Juneteenth is ingrained in me. I had to tell it to my kids, explain to them this year why we were celebrating that and we weren't celebrating 4th of July. Another example, watching Django. I watched it with my kids. We had like a marathon movie session of all movies I picked that I wanted them to watch, and Django was one of them. And they watched it from beginning to end. I have a 16-year-old and a 19-year-old, and a few things they didn't understand. Why there were candles everywhere. I'm like, there was no electricity. They didn't understand that, but something else they didn't understand that I began to explain was, things that we weren't able to do. So when we got married and had ceremonies, the ceremonious jumping over the broom, and just something we had to create for ourselves as symbolism of marriage. I explained to them braids and cornrows and how maps were drawn, as an escape route to pass down to people as they escape and were gaining their freedom. So
or the comforters, like the quilts. The beauty of our culture is so deep. I had the honor and the privilege to study at Laney College in Oakland, where many of my junior college professors were former Black Panthers. Ron Brown visited our campus before he was killed to talk about the ideas around media ownership.
That's right.
The importance of being able to communicate our messages. Desi Woods Jones is still a mentor of mine. Belva Davis, the first African-American news reporter in west of the Mississippi, and all this talk from the Trumpers about how the media has played a part in stirring up the problems when I'm sitting here trying to understand what they're going through. Like, I'm extending an olive branch to them through my media platform. I don't have them joining me here tonight. I have you guys. and hey, I'm good. But the offer is still open to any Caucasian, any European descent person out there who wants to share their perspective. Please reach out to me at AliciaMayo430@gmail. Let's talk about what's going on in your life. Really, I'm here to to support the voice of the people. And as a people, African Americans are amazing people. We are amazing people. And I'm so honored to just be in the group. I'm so honored to have a drop of Black blood, because we have been through so much and we are able to still imagine a world that includes everyone, not just ourselves.
Exactly.
And that is why I call myself a queen. That is why I call my brother or a man of an African-American man a king, because he truly has the qualities. We have the qualities. Other folks can have those qualities too. It's all about behavior and what you do in your daily life. And so here we are, the three of us, trying to do something that really will benefit a nation. We are here to try and lift as we go. We're not here to clown and talk bad or down to anybody. We are here to try and elevate and to educate and inspire people to stay on that path of change and really bring forth the revolution, because we are in a revolution here. And let's just move it forward. Let's just keep pushing. Let's keep pushing, doing our part to push and get us to a better place. So I want to just thank you, Professor of Politics James Taylor from the University of San Francisco. Tell us the name of your book that you authored.
The book I have out is called Black Nationalism in the United States. The subtitle is Malcolm X to Barack Obama. The second one is Something's in the Air, Race, Crime, and Marijuana Legalization. And the book, I'm finishing the 7th chapter on. The next book coming out is called People's Temple, Jim Jones and California Black Politics, to explain the connection of the Black community to the People's Temple movement that led to the mass deaths in Guyana in 1978.
Thank you so much for all of your work to educate us and being here on my platform. Miss Laurel Morrison, my friend that I reached out to on Facebook when I saw your video of you in the streets as a mother, involved without fear.
Respect.
I'm so happy that you're a part of what we're doing here at Clari-T Media. So I gave her her badge as reporter and correspondent, my very first here on the Clari-T Media platform. I appreciate you. Any last words you'd like to share with the audience and let us know about what you're doing?
Let's keep doing this. Yeah.
All right. Thank you to all of you who have tuned in, who will watch this broadcast at a later date. I really appreciate you guys supporting me here at Clari-T Media. Clari-T Media is a nonprofit media organization focused on educating through media communications, technology, and education. I'm doing my part. Please do your part and support by, making your contributions or donations to Clari-T Media. I will share the information, or you can reach out to me at aliciamayo430@gmail.com with your contributions. There's the information below. All right, you guys, let's move forward. There's more to come for 2021. We're just getting started. The year is just.
I'll see you again, Lorella, I'm sure.
Bye. Nice to meet you.
Take care of yourself.
Happy New Year.
All right, same to you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Good night. Hi there, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in to Clari-T Media. It's Alicia, CEO, founder, executive producer. If you're enjoying the programming, drop me a like, a comment, or a contribution to nonprofit media like this. Thank you. Black woman owned. Clari-T Media. Tune in weekdays to the Bay Area Mental Health Hour on YouTube, Instagram, and on Facebook. You'll find us covering issues surrounding your everyday coping skills and your mental health and wellness. And remember, your mental health matters as much as your physical health.
nearest them say how to take down a black man, as if we're different from any other man. You know, so I just don't understand.
White models to the front, then he would send them back. He did the same for each race. So before he came to my race, I excused myself.
I just wanted to get through college, and so my strategy was to just be malleable, just to kind of just be almost submissive.
That was a very interesting experience, specifically because we were taught history through a very white supremacist lens.
And then being married almost 18 years, just seeing my husband, who's a man of God and a professional, get stopped by the police and treated as if he was a cop.
I am a nigga.
Black woman owned. Clari-T Media.
I guess nearly 200 dead, 14,000 who are sick, millions, as you witnessed, who are scared right now. What do you say to Americans who are watching you right now who are scared?
I say that you're a terrible reporter. That's what I say. The American people are looking for answers, and they're looking for hope. And you're doing sensationalism, and the same with NBC and Comcast. I don't call it. Let's see if it works. It might, and it might not. I happen to feel good about it, but who knows? I've been right a lot.
Flatten the curve, my patterns and words gonna have these rappers locked down indefinitely, effortlessly. I merge the elements that represent the illest shit that you heard. I elect D Sharp for president 2 terms, cause on the 2-term tables he be reckoning your whole electorate certified and confirmed on every curb across the German-infested earth. We the freshest disinfected shit of legends here. Shakespeare during the Black Plague, Penn and King Lear, Macbeth poetic. We bring it back that hip-hop aesthetic where you had to have skills to get credit. Every concept and subject process to dissect it. God in the essence, Islam refined with divine presence. Prophetic, the message, Malcolm X's and John Legends. Excellence, freak loops like we got a fetish. They told me slow down, I said I'll always push limits. From the town where we have sideshows during pandemics. You better have a health plan when I drop this sickness. They gon' have to extend the quarantine till past Christmas. Whoever listening, check them in 5 days for the symptoms. Looking at me like I just got off the plane from Wuhan, coughing and sniffling. Bitches.
You can't come outside. Ain't making music for the people. You can't come outside. Can't come outside. Can't come outside. If you ain't speaking the truth, you can't come outside. Can't come outside. Can't come outside. I'm the sickest alive. I'm the sickest alive. I'm the sickest alive. I'm the sickest alive.
I wash my hands, my sins off in the same span. To the white hoods in office, I can see the plan. If I catch Zimmerman slipping, I hope it doesn't jam. Got an Uncle Donnie, I don't fuck with Uncle Sam. And Unc told me you should eat grits and scorpions, that means I'm tough, boy. And made me pull your card and call your bluff. Open niggas at your door, not giving a fuck. I'm included. A nigga with an attitude, ruthless. Fuck R. Kelly in his 2-step. I believed I could fly before I heard his music. Hit a lick on the rap game, strip it like a nudist. Me, I never share too much, gotta keep him clueless. But I gotta keep my distance, though. They say it's an issue, bro. Way before Corona, niggas were trying to just steal your soul. How I know, feel like I've been here before. Even wrote a song about it if you really didn't know. If I put that on something, and I put that on my word. I'm wearing seat-thuds like the first Roman church. Mother Earth got me higher than the rain on the fires. Playing with me on the cover, madam with a curse. Church, feel heaven said in a verse. No 9 to 5, but I still go to work. Get back to the hood and not say a fucking word. Who else would be trying to flatten all of the curves?
These weak rappers can't come outside. Can't come outside. Can't come outside. Ain't making music for the people. You can't come outside. Can't come outside. Can't come outside. If you ain't speaking the truth, you can't come outside. Can't come outside. Can't come outside. I'm the sickest alive. I'm the sickest alive. I'm the sickest alive. I'm the sickest alive.
I've been shitting on rappers, time to flush you niggas. 6 feet of separation won't touch you niggas. Loudest man in the room, I'll hush you niggas. I focus more on my stacks, trying to touch more figures. Does anybody speak real shit anymore? I'm a hip-hop group remaining close to the core. Supply and demand, you can't buy it out the store. Alley, you from D-Sharp, make a nigga wanna score. Part of my French 6-man coming off the bench. Brought tools to the game and can't loan me a wrench. Break rules on you lane since I jumped off the fence. I run for miles with the torch since they gave me an inch. I need a challenge. Cause I feel like I'm running in place shit. I'm more comfortable around gorillas and ape shit. Came up on good music, talking naughty by nature. Real recognize, real haters gon' hate you. Flatten the curve, power of thunder come from the words. B-boy stance, yelling what you heard. Pitch from the curb, dope round since 816. Package every single bar just to flood up the scene. Hotter than kettles, lower the treble, raise up the bass. MLK, Bob Marley, boy, look at my face. Body so many rappers, I could catch me a case. I ain't tripping off nothing, had to shorten my lace. And when the beat get low, you won't catch me sleeping. Grind so hard, I'm talking weekend and weekend. Heart full of gold that can never be weakened. God flow in these verses like it came from a deacon. God.
These weak rappers can't come outside, can't come outside, can't come outside. Ain't making music for the people, you can't come outside, can't come outside, can't come outside. If you ain't speaking the truth, you can't come outside, can't come outside, can't come outside. I'm the sickest alive, I'm the sickest alive, I'm the sickest alive, I'm the sickest alive.
Black woman owned. Clari-T Media.
We could change that though. I got you. Let's change, rearrange it. Black people. Ice clean, Smith & Wesson beam, another bloody stream. Young Cuddy dustin', bustin', no discussion. Laundry lists are dead and twist, no wishing. Best of life, getting snatched, scarred up and all patched. Magnitude, Godzilla, selling more drama than Jay Thriller. Getting the backlash, cash stash so we can go. If they coming to get you, you never know. Need my son, daughter to be bold. Smart enough to live another day. Get it right. Not a hot shot, the hot shot on the block got shot. Race soldiers getting help. Turning backs and watching, let you shoot. Another loop, dizzy, getting juked. No help, have to help ourselves. Raise up, if not for nothing else. Black beauty, my duty. Get it poppin', doors open. Come through, rock with a few. Drip lit, like a spotlight. Just winning, top of life, spinning. Top of life, spinning. Top of life, spinning. Spinning, just winning. Top of life, spinning. Top of life, spinning. Top of life, spinning. Spinning. Enemies outside, enemies within. We gotta stop it, no one's a prophet. Burden heavy, broken levee. Mental youth, now and forever. Amusement's nothing if you ain't living. Life valuable, privilege. Lift each other, don't trip. If your brother slip, extend grip. Make cash flip, pay each other. That's a good look, need each other. Deep inside is survival. Jump in together, no rival. All vitals up, running good. If you could, you will, you got the skill. And then you should've played with all your heart. I see them sticking to it like a dart. And had an aim of archery to mark. Melanin, make them all envy. Experimenting, cause they saw many blow by a NASCAR race. Nah, better space, boost pace. Yeah. Nah, better space, boost pace, but just winning. Top of life, spinning. Top of life, spinning. Top of life, spinning. Spinning, just winning. Top of life, spinning. Top of life, spinning. Top of life, spinning. Spinning.